Here's a script for cursors. First of all, this update statement is actually a cursor because it reserves an area of memory whilst it executes in order for storing the results of its execution. Oracle PLSQL allows access to certain attributes of the most recently executed cursor within this session. It happens to be, for this SQL %NotFound, it happens to be this update statement. When this update statement executes, we will get an answer from this cursor telling me whether this record was not found or not. If it wasn't found, it'll allow me to insert. Let's copy this procedure and execute it. Once again, we have the issue with the collection objects. So all we'll do is we'll simply go and edit this insert statement and change the act and put the two collections in and set them as null. Let's once again copy and paste, and we see that this person has been added. Now, since I asked the update if it was found, now it will be found by the update, so it won't insert. So our message is different, changed to that, so it actually executed the update. Now if we go really crazy with it, she'll actually be added again because her name was changed, therefore her name is not there. If I happen to add it again, I get an error. Why? Because I'm trying to change from this one to this one. Well, this one to this one. It already exists, so it tells me I can't do it because the primary key is already there. Or a unique constraint, which is a unique constraint actually on the name field. I can't go and update that field there, which didn't exist before the insert, before the second insert, with this name because it's already there in another row. I can actually achieve the same result using what's called really embedded exception blocks and traps. So I could do the same update statement, and if it succeeds, it will drop to this next line. If this update does not succeed because it doesn't find the record, it will actually drop into the exception loop. However, there's a problem. The update statement does not produce this particular exception. So update failure will not be bounced to this trap. The thing we have to do is we have to put a select statement before it, because select will detect this. So this method actually is slightly more granular and perhaps a little bit better organized, but it has an extra line of code and an extra SQL statement. Now, since we actually already had a problem with this particular record and updating it, and we had a constraint error on a unique key, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to roll back the previous changes I made. So now that data is not there anymore. This act is no longer in the act table. So I'm going to copy and paste this version, and I'm going to paste it in. Once again, this is my collection error on the act table. So I'm simply going to go into this insert statement, change the code here, and add these nulls again. The easiest way to correct the problem. So I'll copy and paste back in, I'll run the procedure, and it says she's added. Once again, it says she's changed, and once again, it says she's added, and again, I get the unique constraint error on the fourth execution. Now let's go and look at an example cursor for loop. What is a cursor for loop? A cursor for loop is an implicit cursor because it does not require explicit declaration of both cursor and the record acting on the cursor, plus explicit commands to tell the cursor to open, close, and require fetching of each row. All you do is you create the cursor as a definition in the declaration section, and then you loop through the cursor with the for loop. You don't even have to declare the record, which is this rshow thing, against the cursor, cshows. So let's simply just execute this cursor, and again we have the error. Okay, this is interesting. This is because I haven't set dbms output to 2000 characters. I haven't set the buffer limit. The limit of that buffer is 2000 bytes. 2000 characters, not very much, doesn't take very long to fill it up. As long as you keep outputting, no matter what you do, as long as you keep the same session open, which I've had open for a while, eventually that buffer will overflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all clear the buffer. I have to use the exec command because it's not in the procedure. And then I'm going to make it nice and big this time. The only problem with a large buffer, if I have limited memory on my machine, on my client machine, is can it fill up pretty fast. And that is 1 million bytes. I count 6 zeros. Run the procedure again. There we go, lots of data coming out. All that procedure has done is really looped through all the show records, well, a join between venue, act and show, and simply printed out the name of the venue, the name of the act, and the date on which that show occurred. And here's the description of the buffer overflow area. Obviously, when I was constructing these scripts, I came across the same error. Typically what you do when you run something in a procedure, including dbms output, which I've shown you this before, is you set server output on, you enable the buffer, and then after disabling it, you set server output off. So let's just execute that again. It's useful to have these errors coming out because you are going to get errors like this, and if you haven't seen it before, you won't know what it means. And what I did there with output was I left the T out. So let's be insane about it and run it again. And there it's all working.